Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. TCGPrime.com, with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as FoulLibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at FoulLibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer patrons Shukong Fu, Vite Ramen, and Maxime Van He. Thank you for your support. Class is in session.
Hey there, Rulers, DMO73 here, bringing you the delayed, apologies, profile for the Dante discard deck list. So this was my take on Dante, very much focused on ripping your opponent's hands to shreds as fast as possible, and then just beating them to death from there. Really fun, definitely has the option of going for the 7 Deadly Sins combo in the late game, but we do just kind of keep things controlled and limit our opponent's options so that we can just push through for aggression if needed. So obviously we're playing Dante, so we can get those Dark Spheres out. We are not playing any Dark Spheres in the main of this list. They are all in the sideboard, one of each. And this is because, again, the 7 Deadly Sins thing we're using more as a utility card for being able to cheat in things and create board wipes, as well as reanimate things. So not necessarily the alt-win con, although it does get to a point where if you're grinding so much, you can just win the game that way. Going into the stone base, we're playing a single copy of Villain Stone. This is because we have Lucifer in the deck, so it's worth it. You can also, there is the one of Ragnarok's Fiery Stone in there as well. And then we're playing 4 copies of Six Sage and 4 Demonic World. Now, the deck itself, we have a couple of splash cards that we're really using just because we have 7 Deadly Sins, and that's 2 copies of Virgil and 2 copies of Garion. They're just really good tech cards that have lots of utility in lots of different ways, especially when you can cheat them in an instant speed. From the graveyard especially, too. Then moving into the main deck, 2 copies of Dark Mage of m.ha. This is a great card to hit as the turn 1 coin order, as well as the turn 1 Six Sage order, because you can get an orb really quick, use it to destroy itself, and most of the time your opponent doesn't have a card on field, so they're just going to be forced to discard 2 cards. So it's a big tempo swing there. 4 copies of Dante Enters the Game of Gods for reload, as well as just being able to get those symbol skills necessary. It does keep the hand full, which is nice, especially when you're in a deck that also is making you discard to kind of keep ahead of your opponent in card advantage. 4 Fallen Angel of Black Tears, because it's an amazing card that it doesn't worry about getting canceled. It has a great spot removal options, as well as being a great cheat in off of 7 Deadly Sins to just reply a -12 to the board. 4 copies of Lucifer Defeated One Wing is a wonderful card just by itself for aggression and life gain, as well as forcing your opponent to incidentally discard cards, so it really disrupts your opponent's plays. And then, of course, 4 copies of Dark Charlotte Alternative for even more selection. So one thing to note about Excalibur Fallen is you name a Resonator card. It doesn't have to be a Resonator that is on field. You can just name a dude. And so if you know it's in your opponent's hand, you can rip it out, or like you saw in the match, I knew that the Lenneth was a problem, and so I was using Excalibur to grab that. 2 copies of Amadeus. I think I'd honestly bump this up to 3 now that I've been playing it more. The discard effect is great. We can cheat it in off of 7 Deadly Sins and make that a discard spell. It is a huge beater, and the God Art is nice. The God Art is very nice. So overall, a great card. Certainly, I think better than I initially gave it credit for. 3 copies of World of Amadeus, because your stuff is going to get killed a lot, even by your own effects, with things like Lucifer or Dark Mage of m.ha. So this is very easy to turn on, and just make it free to be able to keep your hand filled again. 3 copies of Dark Alice in m.ha, because you can order her in this deck very easily, and it also is just insane to be able to have such good selection, and then you can also nicely use her regalia. In this deck, we typically grab Sphere of Asmodeus last, except just because of the fact that we can use Dark Alice's regalia to kill the Dark Alice and then immediately reorder, which is nice. But obviously in the match that you saw against aggro decks, we have the Asmodeus if we need it, to be able to get life gain back online. 2 crawler between the cracks of time, because it's just a nice way to keep consistent pressure while you're like killing your own dudes who might not have swiftness, or you're kind of grinding your opponent out. And then, obviously, 4 copies of Excalibur Fallen and 4 7 Deadly Sins. So that is the deck. It is a ton of fun to play. I still have it sleeved up and I goof around with it. Lots of cool implications and lots of just really up my alley in terms of playstyle, so I hope you guys check it out. Let me know your other thoughts about Dante and what you've been doing with him in the comment section down below. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.